Yay. All right.
All right. That will call the August 16th Middleton Tourism Commission meeting to order. First order of business, I guess, would be the review and the approval, questions, additions to the last two meetings minutes. We have one on July 19th and August 2nd. So everybody had an opportunity to take a look at those minutes. Anybody have any questions or anything missing? Concerns about the minutes from the last two meetings?
Nope.
And a motion to approve the minutes, if somebody'd like to make one?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes from July 19th and August 2nd are both approved. Next on the list is hotel updates. A lot of the same for me, group is still strong, business travel is still pretty minimal. There was a recent article that I just read today that came out from GBTA, which is the Global Business Travel Association, that with the price hikes across the board with inflation, whether it be fuel or flights or all of the above, the anticipation was about mid-2024 when business travel would get itself back to normal. We're moving that target date out now to 2026.
Oh, no way.
So, yeah, I mean, I think there's, from an industry perspective and a personal opinion point of view, I guess, there's no such thing as any company that's just going to go back to spending a boatload of money without a good reason. So you already had that pushing back on business travel resuming, and now you couple it with it being twice as expensive as it was pre-pandemic for these companies.
Sure.
There's absolutely no chance that they do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that 2024 honestly was probably a little bit optimistic to begin with. But I think 2026 is probably pretty realistic, so.
Okay.
It's sad, I mean, for us,
Just-
that's a good, 20%, 25% of our business,
Does that mean like in 2026, even if it never returns to where it was, it'll be at a point where it's stable then, and what you could expect
Yeah.
going forward?
Yeah, their terms, their metric was pre-pandemic levels of travel. So they think that you will see
Oh,
it
okay.
return by then, but I'm skeptical.
I think there's always going to be a little bit that
Yeah.
it's not going to want to do
Yeah.
the thing,
Well, as long as hybrid options are always offered,
And they're so good. now.
it's a deterrent really for
Yeah.
in person because you can save so much money on travel.
It is.
But gas prices are down. I just checked
Yeah.
flights. So a few weeks ago, I checked flights to Denver over Thanksgiving and it was over $1,000. And now it's like down to $600.
Oh, really?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it was a direct flight, which I may or may not do. I haven't decided. And
Right.
so it's all like, I feel like every time I read one of these reports, it's a moving target.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think saying 2026 is a decent time to not overshoot.
Right.
Under promise, over deliver, but we bounced back a little faster than other target markets on our leisure travel.
Yeah,
And
right.
so, and I feel like the Midwest operates a little bit differently. And so it might not be 2026, but for budget purposes,
Yeah.
I feel like it's always
For
better to
Business travel, I
underestimate.
would say absolutely.
Yes.
Shoot that down. Our largest producer last month was 25 room nights. So to put that in perspective, that would be 250 to 300 from our largest single account. So it is non-existent. Leisure
Wow.
travel did bounce back. Group travel obviously is doing fine. Group businesses, especially the for-profit events, the real Smurfy type weekend programs, those bounce back right away. Associations are still, using hybrid, to their advantage. A lot of them now are trying to get hybrid out of the mix because it's so expensive and you can't charge much for somebody to watch it on their laptop from home. So the economics of it make no sense. But at some point, the associations, they're weighing, do we lose membership over the next 2 or 3 years, or do we try to keep it and hold hybrid events and maybe lose money for the next 2 or 3 years?
Where they make money when people go to the conferences. and-
That's where they
yeah.
make their money. Yeah. I mean, if you're charging $800 to register in person, but $100 virtual, and it costs you $7,000 to put the virtual on, you need,
Yeah.
you need 70 people just to break even on it.
Yeah.
So it is tough. A lot of them are really trying their best to get everybody back in person because they don't like dealing with the complexity of hybrid events, and they also don't like the expense.
Yeah, the software is incredibly expensive.
It is. It is. And the companies that are local that can do it are booked. They're
Yeah.
booked, you know, so it's just like Event Essentials right now, the core company, you
Yeah.
know, they're not doing business unless it's $1,000 minimum now, you know, you need to rent a few pieces of drape. You're better off buying it yourself on Amazon
Yeah.
because they're not there and tell you that they can't help you, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, business travel right now it is. And then we've seen that across, you know, we've got properties in California, Florida, Connecticut, all over the country. And it's the same story, no matter where you're at right now for business travel. It's just these companies are sitting on their wallets and they're going to until something pushes them to open them back up. You know, and for that situation, you know, it might be one of their big competitors sending their sales force out in mass across the country. And now that shakes the boots of the
Yeah.
other company and they're like, oh, well, we can't let them be, you know, it's
Right.
gonna be
Gotta
something
keep
like
up.
that.
Mhm.
But none of these companies are gonna say, let's go from spending zero to spending millions again on travel every year. They're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really scary, to be honest. But you know, leisure has done well for us, so that's a positive side. You know, this is that leisure is doing well. So, staffing is still an issue, obviously, that's everywhere. I mean, Starbucks across from us closes at like 2:00 in the afternoon because they can't find anybody.
Mm.
So. But with that being said, we're still adding staff every week, so it's getting better too. That's it from hotels. I don't really have too much else to report. Nothing's changed really since last month, just busy and getting by.
All right. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, excellent. We're working off of two different mics. So I'm just going to dive right in. The state statute question that we had for the city attorney, he did respond. He said that, basically, let's see here. His attorney, regarding the whole state statute on financial practices, we received confirmation that the city and Visit Middleton are managing the funds in accordance to the statute. If that, and I'm happy to share that opinion letter with you all. We aren't doing anything wrong, but I also think that if it had been, you know, said that we could manage our own funds, it also wouldn't be wrong.
Right.
The statute is vague, is basically what it came down to.
We're
And
not doing anything wrong, but could we do something different and still not be wrong?
that's still kind of my question, but right now where it stands is this, we're going to continue going to finance and common council for funds outside of our budget. My next thing for that is tourism marketing manager position. We opened this for 3 weeks, and I'm not going to get too much into detail for personnel online. But we decided to rescind that job posting and we will repost it hopefully this Friday or Monday. I've changed some of the criteria to make it a little bit more clear. I honestly feel like some of the applicants weren't sure what I was asking, and that's on me. It was a very long listing. And so we'll hopefully be reposting that, and we sent emails to those who did apply to please reapply. And then we'll have that posted for at least 3 weeks and we'll boost it everywhere. It wasn't boosted for the first, a little over a week the first time. And we'll hopefully have someone being interviewed in September.
Mhm.
It is very much my wish. Right now, we have a photo shoot coming up and I'm having the agency help me a lot more on managing that this year than last year. And so they're kind of stepping in. There might also be a few increases in website because they've been stepping in helping with some of that too.
Mhm.
A little bit, it'll get a little bit better after the budget portion of this gets rolling. Also, the tourism economics report. I got an email last week saying that it was coming in and it still hasn't come in. So I'm sorry, but I need another motion to boot that to September. I realize we've been saying this.
I'll
since
make a
May.
motion to defer this item until the economics report until December. More reports.
And can I get a second?
You want to second that motion? I'll second.
Oh, he's on now, isn't it? That corner on the end?
Yes, welcome.
Got a second?
Yes, Kevin seconded.
All right.
And just a couple other updates. Strolling Jazz has moved. We're not going to change anything on the grant application, but the date is now in October. And also just a quick update for visitor guides. We are nearly out, which is an incredible problem to have. So next year, we did approve the visitor guide budget based on 6,000 copies, but I've already ordered 2,000 more. And we're still going to, we budgeted 25,000 for this project. We're still going to be under that 25. And so hopefully that will help. And then we also designed postcards with QR codes and we're giving those out. And we're going to be reevaluating based on local use and tourism use, because we do see a lot of guides being picked up at City Hall and the library and used in apartments. And we kind of need to determine how many are being used by residents versus tourists, because they're like $3 a piece. So we kind of, it might be, we've already budgeted to do the postcards next year as well. And we might, like for events, put out both visitor guides and postcards for the people who don't want to take a whole guide, but like that reminder. And then offer the postcards to apartment buildings that want to give a welcome package. And that will save us considerable costs on the visitor guide as well. Quite a few of our peers are choosing not to print a guide. Destination Madison didn't print one. They're again not going to. Eau Claire just went to digital only, and they've just been giving out a postcard. I want to continue to print because I think that, we've proven that there is definitely a desire to have a printed issue, but I think the postcard will help offset the costs going forward. And I'm sure that there are people who are getting them in their welcome baskets or their packs and are like, well, I'm not so sure if I want this giant visitor guide in my purse, and so this will give an option to meeting planners as well. So I just wanted to throw in those quick updates. And before we move on, I just wanted to give Corey a second to chime in. Do you want me to give it an introduction? Can you not hear? Okay, so you can hear us, but we can't hear you. Okay. Okay.
What is he?
Well, his Bluetooth doesn't always work.
Oh, okay.
See?
Yeah, it's Bluetooth.
Well, Corey, I can introduce it for you if you'd like. This is going to be Corey's last meeting with us. After 10 years of service to the commission, he is stepping down. Right now, he's still going to stay on the board through September. Hopefully, we can have somebody filling in that spot. Because we do need 6 people to operate as a commission. And I put forward a name and an application to the mayor, so that is hopefully being reviewed. I want to thank you, Corey, so much for everything. The reason behind his retirement is Badger Bus is incredibly busy this fall. They're low on drivers. And the way you were explaining to me, it sounded like your work schedule is going to be absolutely incredible.
Can you hear me or no?
You're coming through.
I didn't hear a.
So you're breaking up a little bit.
Shoot.
I think it's because he got 10 years in and I just struck him like, what?
If you called in and just used your phone as a mic, the numbers in the calendar invite. So I definitely want to give him a chance.
That means
Yeah. You're on that chairs, buddy.
I think you were very like.
We'll have to have elections once the 6th person is on.
Yeah.
So spread there.
And I'm also, it looks like he's gonna call in soon. And it will get better. These meetings won't be so crazy as soon as the budget is approved.
That's true.
And the tourism grant stuff. We've just had a very busy summer.
Yeah.
Oh, here we come.
Let's go.
Did you hear me now?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah,
Yay.
loud and clear.
There we go.
Can hear you.
I don't know what's going on today. I don't know. I didn't hear what you said, but I think you're probably talking about resigning from the commission, and we're super short on drivers this fall, so we're kind of scrambling. It's not going to be fun. We're probably worse off than we were in the spring, which was a little much. So trying to focus my efforts on that, and as much as least as I can. Because the problem is, if I have to go out and drive, I'm out 6-7 hours and trying to scrunch 10 hours of work into 3 hours during the middle of the day. And it's certainly a challenge, but it's kind of a last resort, and it's bittersweet, but there's nothing I can do about this one. We're just trying to figure our way out of this.
Well, we were just saying, we wanted to thank you for, 10 years of service to one commission. I don't know how many committees can say that about any of their members. I know that you've helped me a lot with the onboarding this summer, and we just really appreciate everything that you've done for the commission. And sorry to see you go.
You chaired this
Yeah.
for 6 or 7 years, didn't you, Corey?
I don't know if it's been that long. Whenever Van, I think when Van left, I honestly I couldn't tell you.
So I think that was
Um,
2016. So I think you've been on doing this 6 years.
Yeah, maybe it's been that long. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's been fun. I'm not going to be far. If you need anything or if you have questions.
Well, you'll definitely have to give us a call. We'll either take you to lunch or you can come out to the depot, because we do have a little going away thing for you, which we had all prepared until you couldn't make it tonight. So
I would have stopped by, but I don't know if you shared. My family, we just got back from vacation. My wife and parents all have COVID. I don't have it, but just be safe and sorry.
no, we appreciate that. So
Wow.
give me a call in a week.
Yeah, right.
But if anybody wanted to say anything, feel free. I know it's weird saying goodbye through a TV screen.
I got a feeling
Right.
we're going to Corey around. So something in me tells me we're going to see you. So,
Kathy, just wait until I have an issue on my street. I'll be in touch.
okay, promise me. Okay, sounds good. I will wait for that call.
Well, we put up a stop sign, so there's probably some other things that we could do together.
Okay.
I don't even know where we were on the agenda. I was trying to putz around with my sound and the director's report. We just get through that.
No, we
Just
just got through that. And so now we're on to Middleton Visitor Center and Wagon painting contract.
Okay, perfect. I'm caught up now. Sorry about all that. I broke my computer and I'm trying to get a new one together. So
This painting contract, first, I need to make it clear, this has not gone through city attorney approval yet. The attorney's office has it. Genesis got back. They only made a couple of changes. They wanted me to make sure that we call out that this isn't lead paint removal, that it's lead paint scraping. And safely scraped, loose, peeling, and those kind of words, because lead paint removal is a different process. And Jim was explaining that to me too. It requires solvent and sanding and all sorts of crazy stuff you don't do to buildings.
So the next time this has to be painted, there will still be red.
We will always be dealing with this. But in the future, if we are on top of it and we don't wait until it's peeling, we can just paint over. The problem right now is paint is missing, especially on the bottom part. And so we have to treat the wood basically, because the wood is the part that the paint on the outside is fine. And so, yeah, we will always be dealing with this if we let it go too long. And so I was actually just discussing it this morning, Brian Goodell, that we'll probably have to just start thinking of it as a budget item every 5 years, and we'll evaluate. If it doesn't need it that year, great, we can push it to the next year, but we need to make sure we catch it before it starts falling apart.
Well, Tim, the more paint you put on, the more layers of paint. If it's not been, what we're painting over right now, it doesn't have the adherence that The new stuff will
Mhm.
have, so as you add more layers, won't that just start?
It'll crack
Yeah,
after
it'll
so
start-
many years.
Yeah.
So the way it was explained to me, like the next time we do this, if we keep it in check, we can just paint. But then the time after that, we'll have to go through probably a scraping process.
Yep, that's, yeah.
Scrub it, scrape it, yeah.
So probably within 10 years, we'll have to anticipate doing this entire process over again.
Yeah.
But,
Price you pay.
yeah, exactly. So did anybody have any questions or comments about the contract?
We don't have any, do we have to take any action on it or no? At this point,
Yes.
we already approved it, right?
So, yes and no. You guys approved me choosing company, but not the contract. So I do need a motion to accept the contract pending city attorney approval. And then after the attorney's office gets back to me and I change whatever they ask for, I send it back to Genesis, they sign off. And then I have to put it before finance and common council. So all you guys have to do is a motion to approve pending city
City
attorney
attorney.
approval.
For Genesis, you're
Yes,
zoning in
and
on
this
Genesis.
is the building and the wagon. The boards are separate. And we'll
Oh.
get to that in a second, because the contractor works for Genesis, but they don't contract together. And that is less than $2,000, so I won't need a contract for him. I'll just hire him to fix those boards on the side. And he'll coordinate with Genesis on when to do that, because he works for them.
Well, I would ask Jim, since you had the most knowledge on this, is this look good now to you?
Yeah, I think it was good.
I've learned so much about lead paint removal and painting buildings,
More than you ever wanted to know.
more than I ever needed.
And this one didn't require half up front, right?
He waived, actually Genesis never required that.
Yeah.
Jade could not waive it, and Magna did end up waiving it, but they responded to the bid 4 or 5 days too late. I had already contacted Genesis. They missed their deadline.
Oh, okay, that's true. That's unfortunate. I would make a motion to accept this pending city attorney, the contract pending city attorney approval.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you so much, guys. This will put us on the roster hopefully for early to mid-October. It's gonna take a few weeks, so we're hopefully be done before Halloween. And maybe we can even decorate for fall, for Halloween, for whatever they have planned. So my next steps will be making sure that this gets done by the city attorney, and hopefully in 2 weeks we can put it before finance. So next up for this though is, I did find out we have.
Hey there.
20,000
We have to
Sorry.
vote on that? We have to vote on that.
Oh, sorry, we got a second.
My
please.
Bluetooth clicked out. I'm sitting there like, hello.
Sorry.
So, is there any other discussion? I'm assuming not. If all those are in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we're good.
I'm wondering if we had an actual vote on the minutes too. I know we had a first. and a
We
second.
did on the minutes, but I don't think there was a vote on the economics report pushing it to September. I think there was a second, but we didn't have a vote.
I think you're right, sir. Do we need to go back to that?
We'll just say, yeah, we have first.
I mean, what was that? What was that particular item?
For the tourism economic report, we still haven't received it. So Kevin made a motion, or no, Kathy made a motion to defer the economics report until we receive it. And
Right.
Kevin seconded, so we just need a vote.
Oh, yeah, then all those in favor, say aye.
I,
Anybody opposed? No. All right, there, now you got your motion.
there we go.
So for the funding for the painting project, we have a $20,000 contingency fee. Budget line. And finance said that we could use that for this. And then we should still have some money left over in the building projects fund to make up the last 4 or 5 grand. So that way we don't have to go before finance and common council and ask for money from our tourism fund for this. So I just need a motion from the commission to approve the transfer of our contingency fund into our building projects fund for payment of the painting project.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, but that was very long.
I can read it back to you. I can read it back to you. Hold on, I'll just write it out.
The what Marty said motion.
I'll make that, yeah.
Hey, Yuri.
Okay. So Jose made the motion to transfer $20,000 from our contingency fund into our building projects account for payment for the painting project. We just need a second.
Second.
Kevin, second.
Anybody want to discuss any further? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Track us down. That's just not easy.
Aye.
I,
I can't see the screen, but I'm assuming there was no opposition.
There's not, oh, you can't see the room?
I don't see everybody. I see the room, but I can't see the guys on Zoom. So I don't know. I'm assuming nobody opposed. If everyone voted in favor or majority of motion carries.
Okay.
they made the motion, this is.
I thought I fixed that. Okay.
Did you guys already vote on the minutes too, or no?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay, where am I at?
Are we moving on to Yuri then?
Yes, we are. Yuri, would you like to introduce
Right on
yourself to everybody?
time, such a great time.
Yuri.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, I sent you a PDF. I don't know if you wanted to show.
It should be part of the packet.
Oh, okay.
No, the different one. I just sent one.
Oh, you just sent it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Another one. I'm not sure if that's really
I'm
possible.
gonna email.
1 second. Need to get into my email. Oh, I just got your email, Corey, that your computer's having issues.
All right.
Okay. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, I will try to share my screen tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I don't have to do it.
There we go. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Cross country? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Take it away, Yuri. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
I'm Yuri Gusev with Central Cross Country Skiing. Not myself and Dan Urban kind of started this project about 5 years ago when Dan agreed to donate the land and the trails easement for the project. And that's when we got involved with the city of Middleton as well to make sure we preserve the land in perpetuity and use it for public. And I think that's about the time, the first maybe year after I came for the first time, asked to help fund the trail clearing. So we used the Oak Hills crew from the city to clear the trails. All of the trails, majority of the trails were cleared that time. So Middleton Tourism was the first organization that we got funding to get the project going. And so I just wanted to give you an update where we're at with the project and what the next steps, what next developments, etc. So last fall, actually, maybe we can go to the first slide. Let's see, okay, here, perfect. So here's campaign progress.
There we go.
Here we go. Yeah. So you can see the total campaign is about just over 8 million. And we are over 50%. So we kind of got over the 50 halfway through hurdle with the project. So you can kind of see what's being funded right now. And then the areas that are still we're working on funding. So last fall, we built access drive, which was probably one of the most critical elements and expensive elements, was just almost $1 million. And initial parking lot, we brought necessary infrastructure to make snow. So we made snow, I'll show you the slide. We made snow is pretty much the next day. We were making snow actually while MG&E were installing service. And we were using generator. So as soon as the service was installed, the same day we switched from generator to the power, and we're open next day. It wasn't long, but it was open. And we also installed a well, which was not a high capacity well. We're still waiting for a permit for high capacity well, which we should have by the end of this month, we've heard. So just to give you an idea, all the snow we made last year, which was probably the longest snowmaking trail Dane County ever had. I'm pretty sure it is, because we're the only ones who make it snow in Dane County. And second longest in the state. And we used the quarter. We only could use two snow guns out of 5 guns we had at the quarter capacity. So we could have done a lot more if we would have water, pretty much, if we would have water. It was actually also a very pleasant surprise how many trail passes we sold. We sold over 1,500 trail passes. If you were able to drive there to see on the weekend, there was no way you could, people pretty much were parking on the side of the road, access drive, even we had all the signage we could install, which is, worked out well. People figure out how to use the facility, but we did a survey here. I shared with you some survey with trail pass holders, but a lot of people commented they just tried not to come on the weekend because they knew it's just going to be impossible to be there. And we had one event. We tried to keep it as small as we could, and still we had some complaints from neighbors down below because it was too many cars and too much traffic, which is a good problem to have. But we had a first event with about 200 participants with the state championships. Again, we try to keep it as small as we could, just for the purpose of access and parking, etc. So again, that's what we with funding. So it feels good to be over half in it, but there are some pretty important elements left to raise the funds that will put this place on a map, not just in the state and in southern Wisconsin, but on a map on the national level. So maybe we can, any questions on the progress on the campaign?
This is going pretty much in how you had expected, the trailhead, that
Yeah.
you're focusing on the infrastructure first and yeah.
Not as fast, but.
Yeah, right, yeah, but as
It's good, yes,
in the same
yes.
right sequence.
Definitely, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Good, working the plan.
Yes. So the next steps, number one step, the city just recently submitted the stormwater permit for the whole 160 acres of land that Dan Urban owns to pretty much serve all of the rest of the infrastructures will be built on the site. We had a meeting today with Eric Sorensen and Matt Amundsen. Looks like any day the permitting should be done from DNR. So the number one thing what needs to happen is the stormwater facilities. It's number one circle. So we can't do anything until pretty much the hole is dug, and eventually it will be built as a bioretention basin. So that's number one that needs to happen. Then number two is the grading of that open area and actual site for the trailhead building. Number three is a parking lot, which is one of the most essential elements what we noticed just for cross-country skiing. And as we develop facilities for mountain biking, that will become a very essential element as well. And number four is a pump track. So the plan is, if all stars align, be completed this fall. We have a contractor on board to do the grading and stormwater facilities, so they can start in the 1st of October. It will be about 3 weeks job for them. The city RFP was uploaded in the I forgot the name, Quest, or what's the name of the platform used for bidding for public.
Humvees, you said it, or it's Quest?
Quest, yeah. So it was uploaded on Quest last Friday. with the bids deadline end of August. So hoping we'll get some competitive bids to have a parking lot completed, maybe even the same contractor what we'll be using for mass grading as well. And as soon as that done, then the mountain bike park can be constructed as well. So we're still the Wiser, that's who've done all of the engineering so far. They feel optimistic it's all can be done before the paving season is over, which is I think right before Thanksgiving. So that should be all completed. And then our hope is if all falls in place, we can start the construction of the phase 1 of the trailhead building. Because that's really what's gonna tie everything together, bring people, and most importantly, it will give place for the community, especially for the community service and events to bring community centers, schools, and at the same time events. It's pretty hard to do much without space. And I'll show you the pictures of our phase 1 of the building as well. Any questions on this slide? So that's kind of next steps we have for the spring 2023. Again, the construction been pretty challenging, but we still hope that all will go along the line. So the bridge will be built over Pleasant View as a part of the Pleasant View Road expansion. And then it will be bike path built from the bridge to the facility. My understanding, the funding is in place for bridge and bike path, which will be separate path from the road that goes to Pleasant View, so it will be separated. So that will connect the facility to the trail system that will be accessible from the city and far pretty much goes to Madison. You can see kind of like the picture of the trail bike park shelter, just an idea what we're thinking. We can build next to the pump track to make it more welcoming for families and guests to use. And then the last picture, I kind of showed 3 different pictures of the trail, but our goal is to build a community trail, which will be kind of going around the upper field. And that's, I think, what will be very unique in general, because nobody really has it designed from the start. So we'll have a bike trail going around. It will be one directional trail going around the upper field. It's about a mile that will have paved on the inside, grass next to it, as you can see in the picture. And on the edge, it will have a wide single track trail, pretty much a novice that can be ridden by really anyone who can ride a bike. So very simple, and it will be lighted as well. So we tested some solar lights last winter. So we pretty much had a full trail with solar lights, which would work really well. So cost efficient, and we're not burning any energy. And our idea is to continue with the solar light systems. And so this trail will be lighted 100% the whole mile with the solar lights. Again, if a grandpa will come and ride a bike on a pave, then the grandson can be or granddaughter can be on a push bike, and all will have a good time and enjoy it, be safe. Again, one directional trail. I think that's actually based on IMBA, who's designing the trail. That's actually very unique even for United States. There's not many places.
One directional.
One directional with 3 actually tracks going parallel to each other. Really targeting anyone who can ride a bike at a different skill level.
Are the restrooms available for families and things?
In the phase 1, we'll have porta potties,
Okay.
but eventually as a phase 1 trailhead building, that
Right.
trail bathrooms will be accessible to the public
Yeah.
as well. And we'll have still, in addition, we'll have a porta potties right next to the trailhead, because not everybody wants to go and walk around, so it can be, and it worked pretty well last winter. We had a ADA accessible porta potty, and that worked really well. So that's next spring again. Hopefully the construction doesn't get any crazier as it was last summer or this summer. So and then the next step is So that's phase one trailhead building we have. So in the phase one, we have a tent that will serve special events. We're still in conversation with Blue Plate, so they will be providing catering and renting facility for the events. And they're still interested to be involved, even if we don't have a physical structure for them. So they will actually still do events, weddings and special events, corporate events in the tent. And as a part of it, we'll provide them 1,000 square foot prep space inside of the trailhead that can utilize. And the hope is once we do that for a year, then that will give us a kind of boost to go and build the rest of the building. But this can be good intermediate step. We figured for them and for us financially, and just to see how, if it's still a good plan to move forward.
How much parking is adjacent to that?
So total parking, I believe, with what we have and an additional parking that city is committed with funding, I think 74 spots. It's probably not going to take care of all the needs, but it's going to get us pretty close. So for big events, we'll still need to coordinate busing.
Okay,
And for that purpose, that's why there's a turnaround right by the building
Okay.
for the buses designed to bring people in and get out without making any
okay.
effect on the traffic.
I know you said there's like 4 events up to 400 people.
Yes.
Yeah, so that would.
We will,
Yeah.
and it was a good test this winter when we had parking on one side and then we had a trolley also
Yeah.
going up and down. So that was a good test. Worked out well. I mean, it takes coordination, but it's another 70 vehicles can be parked on the drive as well.
Thank you.
So you can see snow gun. So that was December 8th when we got the well working and pretty much the trail right underneath that's the next day. So that was done. And then the image on the right, that's March 14th. That's when we were still grooming, but I think last day of grooming was March 17th. So our plan is to make snow before Thanksgiving, to have at least a mile completed before Thanksgiving, which is, I mean, we've done that before at Elbow Park and Tyrrell Basin, done it. So that can kind of get us pretty close to most of the places around the country when they start the season. And the weekend after Thanksgiving, our plan is to have kind of like Wisconsin Nordic opener, similar to hunting season opener. So this will be Wisconsin Nordic opener and have it open to the community with lessons, fun events for kids, etc. We're also discussing with the city and engineers how we can add the sledding, small sledding area or tubing area, maybe for safer options. There is no tubing anywhere in the city, so we want to figure out a way how to have a safe area for families to come and do tubing. And then actually in the retention basin, there's a small enough area. It's a wet basin. We're hoping to have a small ice rink there as well. So again, make it a little Nordic Park destination for families to come and enjoy different activities, as well as winter biking too. So that's a commitment from Corp to groom the trails. So that's kind of where we're at, moving forward, one step at a time. And again, our key is obviously those number 1, 2, 3 steps right now to get it done, because we're coming to the winter. We need site graded, we need stormwater facilities before we do anything, and we need parking. I mean, those are number 1 priorities. And actually, that's a trail, natural snow trail groomed on Dan's Dan Urban property. Another interesting thing, what we did when we groomed all the trails, when all the trails were skiable, we had several people, trail pass holders, ski all the trails. So this is right now the longest cross-country ski trail in Dane County. Maybe in the southern Wisconsin, actually. So, and we've had people coming from everywhere, including Northern Illinois, Iowa. So that was actually interesting to see. So once those main elements are done, again, the next step will be the phase 1 building, because that's what's going to really will make an impact on operations, events, and community service looking good. We'll have 1 grant from Family Foundation out of Stillwater for $250,000 towards the facility. And they really wanted to challenge local community to see sets people, community steps up. But their main goal is the reason they gave us this grant because they feel it's absolutely necessary to have a building for new families that want to come for recreation and for community centers, because if there is no warm place to change, if there's no warm place to have hot chocolate, it's pretty much, it's hard to serve those first time experiences. And their goal was with that grant is when people come to use the center, that and families and youth have that first positive first time experience, they want to come over and over. So that's, so they challenged us with that.
So that's a matching grant there, you raise, to get that full amount, you raise that same amount?
It's not the match, but it's kind of like then it's about half
Okay.
of what we need for phase one. They said, okay, here's
Yeah,
half,
yeah.
figure out who else
Okay,
can step up, so you guys can finish it up. So that's kind of where we're at with the phase one trailhead build. And we also received just a note today, DNR will be giving us $97,000 towards that community trail around Upper Field. Yeah, so they actually said 86 first, and then I told them on the phone a little bit more details, and then they came back and gave us maximum amount. That's a state grant.
like it.
So just received it today, yes. Thank you.
It's a good day.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Anybody want to open it up to discussion?
So this fall, you're trying to get the basin in, trying to clear the top where the facility is going to be and do the parking lot and the bike,
Not the bike path,
That's for-
hopefully trailhead building, that's,
yeah.
They
So
will-
those
yeah.
three things would be
Yeah.
what would be great to get done at this.
and the
point.
construction of the building. I mean, that's really my main focus on fundraising, where we can get the other
What is the total amount for the building?
570,000
Oh, okay,
for the phase one. Yeah, so
Okay.
at 250, so we need-
okay, I see, okay.
yeah, so that's kind of where we're trying to get to that point. It's not going to be ready for this winter, but they can start construction as soon as the site is graded, end of October. So working with 1848, so they can start construction as soon as the site is graded and put the walls up before the snow season starts and have it completed before the spring,
Get it enclosed, yeah.
get it enclosed and get it ready by May 1. That can be for the use.
And phase one for the trailhead building, how big is this going to be? Because this isn't the full size.
No, 4,000 square feet.
4,000.
So the other event space is about 10,000 square feet. And again, out of the 4,000, 1,000 square feet will be used. We'll move our offices and operations here in Middleton. And then 1,000 square feet will be used by Blue Plate
Mhm.
for special events services. And another 2,000 will be used for equipment storage and just for us to move from Madison to here.
You rent skis too, don't you?
Yeah, we're planning to rent
Would that be part of this
rentals.
also?
Yeah, that'll be also part of the rental. Yeah.
So I have a question about how are you marketing this to other states? Like how do you present in where you are on your plans for people to come in and join or spend the day there?
So we're a regional governing organization for youth ski and snowboard. So we have contacts of all of the members of youth ski and snowboard in Central.
Okay.
So 4 states, and those members come to the events and coaches, that's the coaches, clubs. So pretty much everyone you can kind of think involved in cross-country skiing at any competitive level. Plus we work very closely with about 270 elementary schools and school districts as well. So once we're ready, like when we promote events or when we promote our trail passes, we pretty much go on a full list. And that's what we do for any community, for any events we host or sanction. So we utilize our full communication list.
And what's gonna be the cost of the trail path?
Trail pass was sold last year for $70. I am talking with City of Madison and Dane County to have one pass, so people don't need to buy 3 or 2 different passes. It's a slow moving target, but they discussing it, they're considering it. So it may be still 2 passes, but you can buy both passes at the same time. So it will be like $90 will be, I think 90 will be a family all access pass.
So if there's a biker, they need a pass for the summer trails and another pass for the winter trails, or?
Not right now, but we definitely considering it with Matt, because this will be not based on distance of the trails, but based on different bike park elements. This will be the biggest bike park in the state. So the point was from Matt, well, if this is so unique, not just to the state, but in general, even the closest pump track the size we're building is in southern Chicago. And I don't think there's anything in Minnesota that size, and definitely not in Wisconsin. So that's kind of the point was, okay, to maintain the trails and keep them in a good shape and have enough funds to do it. So Matt proposed to Corp to have a fee, trail pass, user fee for the mountain bike park, for the bike park in general.
Yeah, not quite sure how they implement that, but I think that would be the very wise thing to do. I mean, it's gonna take a lot more maintenance than a regular trail, I would think.
And we do have one fund through Madison Community Foundation that interested to support maintenance of the trails at the rate about 10 to 12,000. We're working with MCF to actually potentially even transfer that fund to the facility. But that would be available. If that happens, that fund will be available again, $10,000 to $12,000 a year in perpetuity, specifically for bike amenities maintenance.
I was just looking at your, it was in potentials for projected schedule for events and how many you could host without the full build out of the shelter. I'm not calling it the right thing. You not call it shelter, but trailhead. There's only, you could do like the sporting events. You wouldn't hold the social or business events at that time, correct?
We can. Blue Plate confident that they'll be able to utilize the tent.
It wouldn't be indoors.
It will be in a tent.
Oh, so there's potential then before they.
Yes, they feel it will be pretty much the same. They might have slightly different type of events, but they're still pretty confident because there's just no space.
That's true.
There's no space.
So that leads to my next question then was, about the room nights and stuff, and that is potentially for before the full build out of the.
Yes.
Trailhead.
Yeah.
Okay.
And from our perspective, we're also looking, okay, maybe that is a permanent solution just to have a tent.
Mhm.
Is there maybe need to have a bigger building? Maybe there is, so it will be a good test for everybody to see.
Pretty nice test.
So you aren't committed to building an event space right now. You're going to test the tent. out.
First. Yeah.
And if that is suitable to you, there won't be an event venue, like
Well,
an indoor.
ideally, probably would be good to have it, but we'll need to see from Blue Plate how much they're willing to invest, because they will be paying us not per event. They will be going in a long-term lease, in a 5 or 10-year lease, and paying a monthly lease based on, I believe they want to have 50 days. But again, they'll be paying monthly lease. And then for every additional day they will lease above the 50, there will be a split revenue. So we'll just need to see how that fits in, whether we're going to raise all the funds and use a commercial loan to build the space, or if we raise all the funds and then we'll just use the revenue from Blue Plate just to keep facility making better. So that's that balance. We'll need to see how it's going to work the best. And Capital Bank has been very, very good with us to work, for us to work with. So they've been great helping in that process, navigating, doing projections and estimates. And
Blue Plate has a good reputation. They've been around a long time, so I think it's very good. Yeah.
I think probably a question everybody has on their mind is what the ask is.
well, ideal ask would be if
We're all
really
sitting down, so go
to,
ahead.
to finish the trailhead building, because again, that's what's gonna tie everything together.
So $250,000 is your ask.
If it's a pledge, yeah, bank, capital bank, so far we've been working on the pledges with them, so they're comfortable with pledges. But that's, I think that's how, what really gonna, again, tie everything together and get us to the next step of bringing events and have a community center. And again, even at that level, that's gonna place at the national level scale that events we can potentially bring in the future. So this actually winter, once the grading is all done and parking, we can go to the full pledge with the state meet, which Wisconsin State, they are approved the event already as a full-on event for the state championships. Usually it brings anywhere between 300 to 400 participants, so pretty much double the size. And I think the key will be for us to figure out how can we track, not just for that event specifically, but in general, how can we track room nights through the hotels in Middleton? So you feel comfortable with investment you wanted to make, if that's the case. And for us also to know how many people, I mean, those are good numbers for us to know. How can we, if there is a model, maybe other communities use, and you can help us to work with the hotels for room blocks and also Madison Sports Commission. That's I mean, they definitely have capacity to book events.
Right.
And for us to offer them a turnkey facility when they go and work on events as well. And they rate it. I mean, I've had a meeting with Jamie and Jamie Patrick and
Brandon?
no, Brendan wasn't there from, he's the president of this, vice president of State Bank of Coast Plains.
Kevin Mulhane?
I'm blanking. But anyway, so we've had a meeting, so they are pretty excited to get rolling once then actually they can bid for events.
So are you asking anyone else to contribute this 250, or are you saying if we don't pledge it, it doesn't?
Right now, with the cost of constructions, so the bids we're receiving right now for those number 3 elements, like 300 to 400% above the estimated, engineer estimated. So we right now scrambling to figure out how we're gonna cover the difference with all grading, parking lot. I think the pump track is at least that price is under control, but parking lot and grading and stormwater facilities, yeah, that's our main concern. I mean, the estimate for grading came from engineering, and they thought it's on the high end was 135,000. The bids were getting 270 to 480. So I think we've got a contractor did for 165, which is still 30,000, 35 more, and who
And you
knows?
feel like it's a bargain.
But still, it's a big pile of dirt. Once they get in, they might say, hey, guys, we need more.
Yeah.
There's more stuff that we need to move somewhere or get off site. So we still need to have 20, 30% cushion in there to be comfortable. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at.
I think we've never had that kind of request before at that level. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
No, the largest request that I know of is the 35,000 we gave them. So far we have given $55,000 to this project. I think one of those pledges though was supposed to go toward wayfinding signs. Am I correct?
Yes, and that's
Okay.
still our plan. Once we have the trail's been used now for, even ski trails been used by 2 mountain bike teams. So they've been kind of using trails. I mean, we didn't have any signs because of construction. We don't want to encourage people go there when
Right.
construction starts. So we're kind of trying to hold off with signage. And especially then Urban, just for liability for his purposes, so people don't wander off the trail. And but once the trail are established, yeah, so there will be signage on ski trails and mountain bike trails as well.
Does anybody on Zoom have any more questions or discussion? Today, we don't necessarily have to vote because we don't have an application before us. But we do need to determine whether or not this is something we want to include in our budget. Yuri before has also said, well, obviously, we don't have to give 250. You guys can decide how much you would like to gift if that is your decision. But he also said we could spread it out over 10 years. But that is, I mean, it's a 10-year commitment for $25,000 a year. And that's something to consider budget wise. I'm not trying to sway you one way or another. The budget conversation that we'll be having, you'll see that the last several years we've ran on deficit. We probably will again next year. And so my suggestion would be that we just immediately take the money out of our tourism fund balance because we will not be making this money in the next few years. We won't be able to make it back, and it would completely bankrupt our entire grant program. So we couldn't use our grants to do this on a regular basis. It would have to come out of the tourism fund balance. And again, I'm not trying to sway people one way or another, but when we are talking about a hotel occupancy, I would suggest that it would have to be part of the criteria, as in all grants, where you have to submit an ROI. This is your plan. This is how we're going to track it, and submit quarterly reports on hotel stays. If you think about it in this sense, if the average room night is $120, our take home after the city and our destination Madison payments is $558. So we would have to book 44,803 rooms to make up for this amount. So that's not going to happen, probably not even over the course of that 10 years. So you do need to think about this in the sense of tourism development, and not necessarily that this is an investment that we will see right away. It will take probably longer than it takes for the grant to be paid off. And part of our mission is tourism development, so you can make that choice. I just wanted to make sure that you understood if you wanted to grant $25,000 a year, or if you want to do 50, or however you want to do this. Right now, it will have to come from our savings, because I mean, as you'll see from my budget proposal for next year, I'm already thinking we'll run out of deficit. So, and in that case, you could actually grant it right now. You wouldn't have to wait till 2023. We could make a proposal and go before finance and common council and grant him whatever request you decide on in 22, if you chose to go that route. If you want it to be rolled into the budget, we can also do that. But just so you know, no matter what, next year we'd be going before finance and asking for the money. So it would probably be easier for everybody to grant it in advance. And because it's a grant, we can work it out different ways as well. You can say, here is the money, you must turn in your receipts as proof of how you've spent it, or it's a pledge. The project goes forward, he turns in receipts, and we pay out up to the amount of money that we've agreed. The commission can decide on how they would want to do that as well. But again, there isn't an application before us today, so we can't vote. But the commission can decide whether or not they want me to include this in the budget. If we want Yuri to submit a formal application to September's meeting, if that's something you want to entertain, if you have more questions. Or if you want to say right away, we can't do 250, how is this? This is your opportunity to discuss that with Yuri as well.
May I add one more?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
for, I think one important piece I forgot to mention. So if the tourists would be interested, so this will include the naming rights, not for the whole center, but it will use Middleton Nordic Center. I know back from discussion with Mike Davis, how Middleton wants to establish its own identity.
Mhm.
And so the name of Middleton will be included into the Nordic Center. So yeah, the name will be Middleton Nordic Center.
Good. So it's gonna ask the incentives.
And it wouldn't be the name of the entire.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, again, there's a couple of things. Hopefully, again, somebody else will be interested in the local community to make a gift to keep it as a Middleton Center. I think the most logical. We're also, as I mentioned in our meeting, we're trying to be careful, and then Urban specifically pointed that out. If we call it right away Middleton Center, people might think it's all funded by the city. So it can impact our fundraising. So I want to make sure we get as far as possible with fundraising, kind of
Yeah.
For those watching at home, this is not city money.
Yes,
And
it's all,
Tourism money is not city tax dollars, just so everybody understands.
Middleton Center would be confused with Middleton Center down here
Yeah.
too. You know,
oh, okay,
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
yeah,
Well,
well, whatever the
he's
name would be,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever the name
Yeah.
would be. And we can be creative on the name as well, maybe not, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe complex or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, break out the source. Okay, so do we want any more discussion, any more questions? How would the commission like us to proceed?
I honestly don't think we're in a position to proceed on anything today, just to be being completely honest. You know, we've always been super supportive of the, I guess I'm not speaking for everybody, I'm speaking for myself, just to make that clear, but you know, we've always been very supportive of the, you know, venue, and what we've already kind of put forth. And I mean, I don't think there's any way we can commit over 10% of what our fund balance is. You know, that's our emergency fund, and you know, I know the last time, I know we've awarded a couple of grants, and I know the last time we were kind of like, okay, this is kind of our max, and it, you know, it doesn't have to be our max, but you know, to recover 45,000 room nights just to break even on this thing, you're probably talking 20 years, if not more, for the hotels to recover. You know, and in terms of development, if it's something that you guys are seriously thinking about, I would probably try to loop the hotels in on it somehow and see what their thoughts are. Because we've never done anything like this before, at least since I've been on the commission.
And again, I'm not trying to sway one way or another. I'm kind of trying to be Switzerland here. And we do have 1.8 million in our tourism fund balance, which we are going to be digging in again this year and probably next year. But I wanted to make sure people understood that was available.
If this
And
was
I'm not a
2019,
proponent of just spending our savings either, because
Oh, I know.
obviously just came out of the pandemic. But I wanted to point out that obviously a gift of this size, we would not be making it thinking we're going to make these room nights back up anytime soon. It would have to be thought of as a tourism development investment. Because if we went into it thinking that there's going to be an ROI in our immediate future, that's not gonna happen. Like, I might not even be working here by the time we make money off of this, but it would, again, I'm not trying to sway you one way or another. I just wanted to make sure that I forgot to mention that before.
I think there's so many times where there's no return that you really.
Well, we've made
Whatever.
some poor investments and some good investments
What
in
I'm
tourism
saying though,
development.
this is something that when it comes to marketing Middleton, I mean, this is something that's really going to be and especially in the winters, you know. And summer too, but you know, I think it's got a lot of potential and it'll be, now it has a big upside. So it's gonna be put us on the map, so.
Does anybody else want to weigh in on the amount or have questions about?
not just to clarify too, I've always been and still am a huge supportive fan of this.
Oh,
I just don't know if it's kind of above our station a little bit.
no, I don't think anybody in this room doesn't see the value in having this project go forward. Nobody would be saying that. And again, if you don't feel comfortable doing any amount, the commission can determine how much money they want to put forward to any project as well. Or not at all. I mean, we have given 55,000. So again, I'm just trying to put all the numbers out there so that everybody understands. $250,000 it's more than I'm probably spending on marketing this year. But you know, it's up to the commission basically on what you want to do. And we don't have to make a decision today. We can defer this to September after we get the budget back. Because again, like I said, if you wanted to go forward with this, it couldn't come out of our current budget or our 23 budget anyway. The commission would have to grant tourism fund balance dollars towards this. And so with that said, you don't have to make a decision right now. We can, I will send you Yuri's PDF and we can come back in September and talk about it some more. Because I know everybody, you all look like you have sticker shock. So you might have more questions and that's fine. And if the commission wants to tell me today that you want me, that this is no longer going to be on the table for discussion, I will take that direction as well. I just wanted to give you options because I know that this is
That, that's not what I'm saying, I guess. I know I'm a lame duck, but I would just say more discussion would be what I would
I don't want it
recommend.
off the table personally. I think that there's.
Oh, I think there needs to be more discussion. I see it both ways. We spent $100K a year on that trolley.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you that, I converted a few group contracts that brought 600-700 room nights apiece to the area and contributed to the fund. And it was based on the idea of the trolley, whether or not their people rode the trolley or not, doesn't matter. But the trolley convinced the client that they wanted to come to Middleton because of it. From a hotelier standpoint, a lot of the new pieces of business that we have booked that have any relation to Destination Madison Sports Commission and came out. So the idea of putting a sporting facility over here in Middleton that's unique, I think makes a lot of sense and is attractive from a hotelier's perspective. The fact that you can use it for Fat Bike, you can use it for, multiple different things. We can definitely attract unique events that will help fill the hotel rooms over here. So I see it both ways. I mean, it is a lot of money. Obviously, we're like, to your point, we're not ever getting that money back. It's never going to be a break even but it's a forever amenity that we have in our city that we don't have right now. So I don't know. I think we definitely talk about it more in September.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to it. And I see both sides. I mean, I do.
Well, you guys have everything that I had sent before and I'll forward Yuri's presentation. And again, and I'm sure Yuri would come back.
Yeah,
If we have
and
more
if you have any
questions.
questions before, I would be happy.
When is your drop dead date? Like, when do you need to know about the pledge?
Probably the end of September, so 1848 can plan subcontractors and.
Okay, our meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
If I'm looking at the rate.
Yep, the third Tuesday is the
Yeah,
20th. So September 20th. We will put this on the agenda and we'll make a decision on whether or not we're going to contribute anything this year. We will make a decision on September 20th, one way or another. And with that, I would also work with you on submitting a formal application. And applications can have the full amount and the commission can still come back and decide how they want to approach that.
Did they give you an idea how long did you say 10, did I hear 10 years or how long it could be spread out or 5 years?
Bank doesn't like anything when it's more than actually 5 years. I mean, they can work with 10 years.
Yeah.
Ideal number for them 5 years.
Okay.
But if it's part of municipality, they said they would be definitely more comfortable versus individual.
Right.
And if we have an agreement,
Well, and if we did it 10 years, $25,000 is, it's half of what we're paying the Madison Area Sports Commission. It's a little more than half.
Yeah, if you look at that.
And they asked for the same amount this year.
I just
Sorry.
want to add in too, Yuri, I mean, are there options for smaller amounts, like for the next meeting? Could you come like with some other options if they end up not going with the full amount?
well, the option is, again, we can't build less building units. So it's
Right.
kind of hard.
I'm talking about other stuff,
there's
like,
no-
cause you obviously have more than $250,000 to raise still.
Right, well, and what Corey is saying is, are we the only people you're asking?
No, we have grants out there. We're constantly asking. It just, unless it comes, it just, yeah. But again, we need to cover we know that we'll need to raise more money than engineers projecting, just based on what we've been getting. And we don't even know what that amount will be.
By then.
So it's a lot of, we want to be, and the city attorney wants to be in a comfortable position. The amount of money we have going into this grading. So I mean, it's until it's done, we need to be comfortable.
I like what you said, Jim. It's something that's gonna be there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's.
Okay, so we will defer this discussion to September 20th. I'll work with you on
Mhm.
filling out your application. And on the 20th, the commission can vote for or against and by how much. Because again, you guys get to decide. You don't have to grant anybody the full amount. How does that sound to everybody? Gives everybody some time to reach out. If you have more questions, you can always reach out to me or Yuri. If you reach out to me, I'll reach out to Yuri and then I'll share his response with the entire commission. And sometimes that's helpful too.
Okay. Do you need a motion to defer this till September?
No, because it's not an action item.
Okay. Pending application. Okay.
All right, well,
Thanks, Yuri.
Well,
yes,
thank you, and I appreciate the
Mhm.
opportunity to
Yes,
talk to you again.
very good.
Yeah,
Very exciting.
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yuri. All right, what time is it? Well, we only went about 15 minutes over.
Not bad.
Not bad for us. Okay, so next up, Jim. City of Middleton e-bike grant request. So this is also not a formal request. I misnamed that in the agenda. But this, like the cross-country ski, gives you an idea of what that grant request would be. They're asking for 40,000. Did I say that wrong? Nope, that's correct. Okay. They're asking for $40,000 for this program. I emailed some more supplemental information earlier today. And Abby is here to answer questions, which is so much easier than me.
That's where I saw what I was looking for and not on the. not in- That was.
Do
good
we know
info-
what the city's contributing on this? Like, is it like a split or do we know anything like that?
Great question, Corey. So as a little bit of background, we've tried.
Sorry, I can't see you all the way down there. I didn't mean to close you out there.
Oh, no worries. Here, I'll scooch up to the table. So as a little bit of background on the history here, this would be the third go round for a budget request for a bike sharing system in Middleton. The first year was in 2018. And the Tourism Commission was supportive of our request. At that time, we were looking for $150,000 from tourism. And then we were asking the city for even more in operational costs ongoing. And the city council did not support the request. So we appreciate that tourism was an early supporter in 2018. Unfortunately, we couldn't convince the city council to get on board in 2018. We gave it another try for the 2021 budget. And at that time, we had a little bit better offer on the table from B-Cycle. Their technology improved. They had more people riding the bikes, so they were able to offer better pricing to us. And again, in 2021, we couldn't get support from the council. In spring of this year, we had a request from the city of Madison and the city of Fitchburg to partner on a grant application to the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, for a TAP grant, which is a Transportation Alternatives Program grant. And we said no, because we hadn't been able to get the city council to allocate funding in their budget to move forward on B-Cycle. And we wanted to wait and see how it went for those other communities. And before we would put forward another request. They were able to secure 75% of the costs through the Madison Planning Organization through the TAP grant. And so we thought, wow, that kind of changes the picture a little bit for us. There are also some other improvements. The technology is better now. Originally, when we were looking at it, we were looking at traditional bikes. Now they're all electric. All of the bikes would be electric. They're on a 3.0 dock system. So there have been some improvements from the previous proposals. The big benefit with an electric bike is it's accessible for people who aren't biking every single day to be able to take longer distances of travel. They have more of the kinks worked out now since they've worked in other communities. They have now expanded in Fitchburg and Monona, and Madison has continued to expand and improve their program over time. They also are providing much better opportunities for branding, marketing, and sponsorships. They recently unveiled some local public art projects that were done, but supporting local artists. Many of the bike stations in Madison are sponsored, and V-Cycle is confident that they could get sponsorship to continue to operate the program after the third year, because the cost estimate of $160,000, that's just for 3 years. So we are kind of, we're basically requesting support in the amount of $40,000 with the assumption that we're getting a grant this fall, but we really won't know until the MPO gives us a yes or no on our application. We've spoken with their staff and they are supportive, but we don't know for sure. Hopefully by the end of this budget cycle, we'll have more information to share with you. So yeah, I guess that's it. Basically, the total cost is $160K. We're hoping to get $120K funded by a grant, and we're requesting $40,000 from tourism.
And this 40,000 is over 3 years, you said?
It would be $40,000 upfront because it would go into the infrastructure. So it would be the docks. It would get us it would be a total of 58 docks and 32 electric bikes. So
Okay.
that would be an infrastructure. So it would be a one-time cost of $40,000, and then the rest would be covered by the grant.
But that, like, it goes over the course of 3 years. What I was trying to do is, I know that you need it upfront, but I was just curious from like an annual perspective. It's really like $13,000-ish a year.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's more of a co-op thing. Do you know where the stations are gonna go or anything like that? Or are we not anywhere near that
Well,
conversation?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that'd be great. So this is an initial proposal. We haven't brought V-Cycle back into the conversation because we have had 2 failed initiatives at this point. So we're not gonna ask them right now to work with us to reconfigure locations. We want to wait and make sure that there's support because they have spent a lot of time with our community. But our initial proposal here would center around the hotels. We are proposing 2 stations that are located west of the Beltline. So if you can see the screen there, stations 1 and station 2. The purpose of those is to capture hotel guests and offer them an opportunity to ride the trail system and to get into kind of the more heart of the community, the downtown, the restaurants, the trails, and even the Conservancy, because there are a lot of e-bikes using the Conservancy now too.
Yeah, I think just like looking at this at the surface, because we've looked at this, I feel like it's been more than 3 times. But I mean, if you're talking value add-ons for hotels, I guess Jim, I'd be curious your thought, but like that to me seems like a relatively low spend over 3 years. I mean, I'd be curious to see what you guys think.
Is this the same, would be the same proposal then that the V-Cycle would own the bikes and everything, so this is just basically we're not investing in anything.
We're paying to lease it, basically.
And for their service, which I would argue is a very, very good bang for the buck. They come out and swap all of the batteries. They answer customer service calls, even on weekends. I was using the system myself over CrossFit games and they were slammed in Madison because lots of people in town. And we had to call for service and we had immediate response. So yeah, you're getting 3 years. Really the game changer here is that V-Cycle has expressed to us that after that 3-year period, they are confident based on their experience in other communities that they can secure sponsorships, because once people see the program operating in their community, and if they have a business that's located nearby or that benefits from the program, they then can easily sell the sponsorships, which we would not be responsible for doing and would not want to take on ourselves at the city, but they would handle securing.
Well, to get the 120,000, I'm looking at the TAP scores that they have here for Fitchburg. Nothing has to do with tourists. It has to do large portion of students in the district and what kind of score that gets. Adds value to improvement of programs, likely for students walking likely to increase the number of students walking. You know, this is how they scored their grant application. And if you write write something up about tourism, I'm not sure you're gonna get the 75% that they did. You know,
Yeah,
increase-
I would say that tourism is very different though, because they have a much larger population, but a much smaller capture of hotels. So we have 1,000 with 20,000 people. They have maybe 500 hotel rooms with 30,000
But
people.
what I'm saying is how they scored this, how they're, what Metropolitan Planning
Oh, I see
Organization
what you're
is
saying.
scoring. They're scoring because they like the fact that kids are gonna be dating
Right,
this and
it's for the
there's,
community.
yeah, they're not scoring this because it'd be fun for a tourist to ride a
Yeah.
bike.
Yeah, I mean, as a hotelier's perspective, I mean, it's not gonna generate room nights for me. I wanna see
Right.
Middleton have e-bikes. So polar opposite things right there, but yes, it's definitely not driving business to my hotel. I would tell you.
Yeah, and then that was the piece of information that we're hoping we could have, is what the e-bike.
The
how-
use of resident versus visitor.
Yeah,
In the city of Madison.
No.
Well, Madison and Fitchburg started their program. So Fitchburg would be a better comparison than Madison, because obviously Madison is Madison. I would like to see a comparison
Comparable.
between us and a city that is comparable, like a leisure, 20,000, no college. And that to me would, and by tour, we do not define tourists by somebody who lives in King County. It has to be somebody who would be coming here for no other reason than because they want to spend the weekend. Someone from Mount Vernon or even, you know, Ridgeway or Dodgeville or whatever, they aren't tourists. They're neighbors that are coming to visit Madison and Middleton. And so I would say it would have to start at least at 50 miles out.
Yeah, for an
to-
overnight.
For it to be considered an overnight, and even then.
And then it could just be a day.
Yeah,
trip.
people might be just during the day
Yeah.
trip. And they should be able to track zip codes for credit card use. And one of the big reasons I don't want to use Madison, besides its size, it has more than one university. And all of those kids have out-of-state credit cards.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
they
but they're
have
residents.
Madison.
And so that's why it really needs to be a city that, you know, to find out how it's tracking, because I'll be honest, I don't see this as a tourism cost. Do I live in a town where I think it would be super great to have because a lot of people would enjoy it? Yes.
but would they be all the
But
residents?
should hotel revenue be paying for it? That's the question that I have. And I also, I get very nervous about setting a precedent where we are paying for public transportation because we are constantly being asked to pay for public transportation. And that is a resident cost. And so if you were to do this, I would definitely suggest two things. One, we do not classify this as a tourism development. And if we do, so here's the thing, we can't spend money unless it's a tourism development, because that is our mandate. And especially at an item of this cost, we have to spend 51% of our budget on marketing, tourism marketing and development. And if we were to spend $40,000 on something that isn't, it's going to skew our percentage, especially for this year. We're coming out of the pandemic, we're still trying, you know, to make sure that we hold that line. So if we define it as tourism development and we grant this, what happens then is, are we setting a precedent where people can keep coming back and asking us for public transportation costs?
Right.
And if we don't classify it as tourism development, we would definitely have to crunch the numbers and make sure that this doesn't completely skew the percentage that we're spending this year or next year. Because we didn't end up having as many grant requests this year, and it has affected our overall numbers. So that's something that we'd also have to talk about, and maybe it's something we could do a pledge, like it counts towards next year. Because yeah, we didn't have nearly as many grant requests this year, and so that affects our 51%. And again, just like everything else, this would have to be, the commission would have to grant a request to go into the tourism fund balance. We don't have 40 grand in next year's budget for me to pull this from.
And this is not a year-round thing.
No, and this is a one-time, it's $40,000 one time.
No, I mean, it's just the summer months, you know, they pull the bikes and they don't have them during the winter. And when I think of Middleton's public transportation, I would rather see money going invested into that would be for everybody for year round, you know, if it's more better bike shelter or bus shelters and stuff like that. To me, this, it's a nice little thing that it's nice to have, but I don't think it's, and it's something that's really essential that's going to be it's just a nice thing to have.
I think it'd be amazing for the city, and I think the residents would really, really appreciate it.
The residents,
And,
yes,
and
yeah,
one of the
well,
things that we read too is providing accessibility to people who don't have, you know, transportation. And so again, I'm not saying that this isn't a great project. I just 10 bikes in the relative vicinity of our hotels.
see, that's where I disagree. It's like provide transportation to people that don't have, well, you're gonna provide it for just a few months, not for a full year. If people want to use them for what they need them, you know, if they need something, you can't, you know, somebody can't get on a bike and take their kids with them to do something, you know, it's, and our demographic is that it's families too, you know, it's.
Which is actually the argument that I would use for why this is more tourism than it is transportation, because I've ridden until 2 weekends ago when my friends were in town for CrossFit and from Missouri, and they were staying in a hotel and they wanted to try it. Until then, I hadn't biked here in Madison, but I biked in Seattle and I biked in New Orleans on similar programs. And I feel like I guess to me, it's very tourism oriented, because why would you rent an e-bike and spend the money when you can have a bike in your own garage or at your own apartment? Like, to me, it's very clearly geared more towards the traveler. But that being said, I mean, if our own tourism commission is kind of rethinking whether it's beneficial to the traveler, then maybe that's
That's where I
I
want to
see
see
it
the
beneficial to the
statistics.
traveler. I just don't, I'm sorry, I got someone to go to the restroom real quick, but I see it beneficial to travelers as an amenity. I just don't see it driving heads to beds in Middleton hotels.
That's where it'd be
I
nice
see.
to be able to see the numbers of the zip codes of,
Yeah, I don't think that
Exactly.
e-bikes will bring people to Middleton. They're
No,
not going to
and
plan
I
a
think
vacation
that
here
it's-
because they're e-bikes.
And people may have a bike in their garage, but it'd be fun to take the electric bike, you know?
Or when friends are visiting, but those are friends who are already planning on visiting. And so that's
not a
the,
driver.
yes, that's the question that we always have to ask, is it a driver? And with something like this, where it's going to probably have, I mean, a very heavy resident focus, is that a tourism expense? Is that where we should be spending 40 grand when we were just asked for 250 for the cross-country ski trails, which would have a much more likely,
And 40,000
return of
would make him
investment.
very, very happy. You
Yes.
know?
but I mean,
And it would be and that would be a definite. The facility, and after 3 years, you don't have anything.
right, but again, for the people on Zoom, which it's hard for me to see on my computer, if it was something that the commission wanted to grant, we could go into our tourism fund balance. I mean, obviously, we do have funds there. I mean, I'm always very cautious about that because the fund balance is what got us through the pandemic. And our operational costs are about 1.8, and that's how much we have left. But we also ran very lean during the pandemic, so I mean, we would be okay if we granted $40,000 for e-bikes. I just wanted to make sure that was, you know, you're aware of that as well.
I don't know if there are criteria for granting the 75% would line up unless this was written not as a tourism amenity.
Written as a similar way that like Fitchburg wrote it.
Yeah, and I don't think we've actually written the grant application. I think it's just an LOI at this point, and I didn't review the draft, so I
right.
don't know what's included in there.
Yeah.
And I would be happy to try to track down the zip code information. But that being said, if your argument is primarily the concern about whether it's driving heads and beds, would the I mean, even if the zip codes were 50%, 50 miles plus, would you then say, well, yeah, but those people were already reserving a hotel, and so we still, you know what I mean? Like,
But we would know what kind of amenity we would have to, I mean, if we'd know that it's definitely something they'd be tourists would be using.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I guess is the 40,000 gonna result in a whole, hundreds of more room nights?
No.
Probably not. I would not make the argument that it would, but I do think that when I'm looking at a hotel and I see this one is close to this, this, and this that I want to be close to, and this one is not, and e-bikes could be one of those factors that would push me to reserve at this place as opposed to this one.
But you're also talking about only 6 bikes being available to 4 hotels. I mean, that map.
There would
Where is
be, we would have bikes close to all of the hotels. So
Well, that docking station's at a total of 10 between Greenway and Demingway.
plus the Stay Bridge downtown would be served by 3 or 4.
Where's that map?
Here, I can bring it up again.
Oh. Well, Stay Bridge, the whole downtown area is served by 6. Stonehorse Green has 2. The City Hall, I mean, those are clearly for locals or downtown users. So for the entire downtown area, you have 10. And for the hotels, there are 10 total. We have 9 hotel properties. I mean, again, if I'm looking to book a hotel room and I'm like, oh, I want an e-bike, and I see, oh, look, in all of Greenway Station between 4 hotels, there are 6 bikes available. I'm not gonna get a bike. Like, there's no way there'll be one left. Like, that's how I would look at that.
I hope you're right. I hope you would put it in and they would all be checked out.
That
all the
they'd all
time.
be checked out. I mean, like,
I'd be curious, do you know if there's any stations that are on the west side near other, we obviously, you probably lose business to other ones that are down on John Q. Emmons.
Sure.
Like, are those ones, and like the ones that are by Commerce Drive, like the Woodman's area, like if there's no B-cycle there, then, and maybe this would be like, oh, if I'm gonna be in the Middleton, Madison West area, but I want to be by a B-cycle, they might select these Middleton properties over some of the other Madison West properties that we lose business to.
That's a good question. There is a station map on the B-Cycle Madison website that you can pull up. The one that I'm seeing that's the furthest west right now is the one that's on University at the UW Digestive Health Center.
Oh, by like Whitney Way?
Yes, so I don't see
Okay.
any that would be in that vicinity that you're talking about, at least at this point.
So at least that would be unique to
the
us.
trolley was unique. And it cost $100,000 a year and nobody used it. I mean, I do have an opinion on this, and obviously I've given it, so I'm going to bow out of the discussion. We haven't heard from Kevin or Jose at all. Corey, you're kind of unusually silent. So if
For your
Oh,
anybody else has.
benefit. I'm
and
just
again,
taking it all in.
we aren't voting today because we need an application, but if you want us to put this on the September docket to vote for, then we can work on putting, I mean, she has almost the whole application pretty much done. Then we can vote on it in September. And again, if funds are required in advance, it would come out of the tourism fund balance right away. If you wanted it to come out of 2023, then it's pretty much, it would be too late to put it into the budget right now anyway. And so again, I would just say, once you have granted it, we go before finance and common council and request the funds from the tourism fund balance, because we don't have it in our budget, of course. So, I mean, if we had 40 grand in our budget, I wouldn't be sweating over the painting job. So,
Yeah, exactly.
but obviously the funds are available if the tourism commission deems this a tourism expense. So if anybody wants to add to the discussion, questions?
So we
And
don't
Abby-
have to
To
act
that
on
we
this today
probably
then, or?
would be.
Oh, yeah, we can change them.
Yeah, sorry, Corey, didn't mean to talk over.
I just was saying, so we don't have to act on this today, or?
We don't have to act on it today, but I'm sure Abby would like to know as soon as possible on whether or not we commit, and then we can have an application in September. What do you need from us?
So my intent here would be that we might try to go for capital budget funding through the city's budget process, but we would probably look to reorient phase one of the system away from the hotel focus. If tourism does not view it as something that would be beneficial for the travelers, we would probably try to request the 40,000. But we would try to reorient the system. And I do just have it as a placeholder right now, but $0 as a budget request in the capital budget. The deadline for us is Friday. So, that's kind of what we were thinking. I don't know if the city council will allocate funding or not, but I do have it in there as a placeholder.
Without an application, could MTC make a pledge and then have an official vote in September? Is that something that's allowed?
How could this be a capital if it's only for 3 years?
We would probably look at it as a TIF improvement. TIF
And the last time the
infrastructure.
TIF was that my understanding was the TIF was, that's for long-term improvements when you're investing into the TIF district. That's all.
I was gonna add in too, I was trying to remember, I was actually going through some stuff and I don't have anything that far back, but I do remember in 2018, or at least when we originally started talking about this, we were going, I kind of said it earlier, this is kind of a value add-on, I think, for the hotels. I don't think that, there's gonna be people booking here because of it, but I don't know, you never know. But the big thing is I thought that marketing at the time, they were gonna try to put something together with Pheasant Branch and kind of get more of a tourism thing, just an FYI.
I think you're right, Corey. I think Julie was proposing that it be a marketing focus, and she was intending to have the bikes like wrapped and promoting like Visit Middleton. on the
I
bikes.
want to say it was even floated that when we were doing the experience workshop stuff, I feel like it was something in there too. Now, do we have the resources to do that today? I guess Mari would be the one to answer that, and but I think that was the intention.
That was my recollection as well, although I don't speak your all's language, so.
But we are an odd bunch, so. Does anybody want to make a motion or a decision? Doesn't really look like it.
So she needs a commitment now because her budget is due on Friday. My budget also due on Friday. And so we don't have an official application before you, but we could. If you choose to do this, I think you could make a motion to approve the funding pending the official application being submitted. Or something like that.
No.
I mean, I'm not. Can we, or vote on a pledge or something? I'm not sure how that.
I think it really just kind of comes down to where everyone's at. I was like obviously just vocal with Yuri in the room, and the reason I kind of brought up a lot of those points is because we've already given them over $50,000. That was kind of where I was at with that one. This one I know has been a contentious. We've a lot of opinions and stuff on the B cycle, and
Tourism point, the cross-country ski is a much longer term investment. And
right.
if we're dipping in funds, I mean, that's just my thought.
I do agree too, that if we're gonna dip in our funds, the long time investment makes more sense than the B cycle, that it seems like we can't agree that it's actually has anything to do with tourism.
Right. So if I'm gathering, I don't have a motion, but it doesn't appear that anybody is willing to commit or make a commitment.
Does anybody have any more questions for Abby? Because I feel like I've monopolized a little bit of this conversation.
This has been before other committees too. What was it, parks or what was it? What was the other committee that this was before?
Plan commission.
Okay.
It was because I submitted the capital budget to plan commission and I had it in there as a placeholder with $0. So that was reviewed by them Tuesday of last week.
Anybody want to make a motion? I don't think it's very helpful if we defer it, or well, I guess, do we need to make a motion right now if we don't have an application?
We wouldn't need to make if you choose not to fund the project, you don't need to make a motion. If you would like to donate or gift any amount of this, then what you could do is make a motion for a commitment. And then that way she'd still be able to put that in her budget. And then in September, we could officially approve an application.
Abby, is a partial amount even helpful?
I mean, possibly, because then it would be less we would need to try to secure from the city council.
I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts?
Well, is there a different way to skin this cat if we were the branding partner for the first 3 years? You know, and
Oh,
dedicated
did you
money,
ask if we could be branding partners?
like we'd be the sponsor for we agree to be the sponsor? Like, is there a different way to skin this cat to, you know? Where
Oh,
we're-
so
everything's
you're talking
branded
about,
in
like,
Middleton.
instead of a grant, have a $40,000 sponsorship. And with
Right.
that,
And we're
something.
got Visit Middleton on everything. And they can still put other sponsors on there as well, I guess, but
I mean, that's an Abby question.
That was, I think, how it was framed when the tourism commission had originally approved 150,000 over 3 years in 2018.
Yeah, I think it's just my lenses, but I have a hard time seeing it.
I do too. I do too.
6 bikes out in Greenway are filled every single day. That's 42 room nights a week, 200. It's. So I just don't, I don't see it.
So are we a nay?
Just to clarify one thing, when you said if we were not to donate or grant a grant request, then when you're figuring out this map, you plan on positioning the bikes away from the hotels. So if we
Well-
say no, the hotels get nothing.
Well, I don't want to phrase it like that because that sounds really negative, but we probably would try to consolidate them more around the downtown and the Conservancy.
I mean, I'm assuming you'd have a station at Greenway Station regardless, right?
Yeah, possibly because that's pretty proximate to the downtown and also easy to access along Terrace Avenue or Greenway. Yep.
Right.
There's a lot of restaurants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do want the stations in proximity to each other. And the reason for that is the typical checkout length is about 30 minutes and you check a bike back in. And if that bike gets checked out to another user, you would need to walk to a nearby station. So as an example, we took bikes from Brittingham Boats to Garver Feed Mill. And when we checked in the bikes at Garver Feed Mill, one of them got checked out to another user while we were having ice cream there. So we had to walk to Ulbrich Beer Garden to grab an extra bike. So you do really want them consolidated close to each other because they're very popular, especially on the weekends, nice day.
Can you bike somewhere to any part of Pheasant Branch and back in 30 minutes?
Well, 30 minutes is like an average checkout time. I would think if somebody's biking the loop, they would have to recheck in a bike at a dock in order for it to have the possibility of getting like taken by another user.
Okay.
You know what I
see
mean?
you're
Because
saying.
if you dock it back, because you don't want to be
Yeah.
paying the per minute rate or whatever it is.
Okay, so you can check it out. For
You
an
can
hour
check it out for
or
as long as you want, yeah. But if you dock it back in, that's when it's in jeopardy of getting taken by someone else.
It doesn't really sound like anybody is willing to move forward, and not to be a pushy or whatever, but we've got about 40 minutes left in our time. So we probably need to get going, as we haven't even hit the guts of our meeting yet, unless somebody would like to make some kind of motion in support.
Well, if this does go forward, there's always a possibility that we may do some marketing on them. That's always going forward, but.
Well, the other thing is, if it does go forward, we could do phase one, and if you observe the system and feel like it would be beneficial to guests that are staying in hotels, you could look at expanding the system for phase two also.
Yeah. That sounds
So thank you for letting me take so much time on your agenda. I really appreciate it. I know you're busy.
Thank
No,
you.
and I didn't mean to sound negative if I was. I just don't know if, I know we need a quorum up for the budget.
This is his last meeting. He's just all kinds of negative.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll give you a hard time about it at the next Cub Scout meeting, but I'll leave you alone right now.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
Thanks,
guys.
Abby.
Mari, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
For the miscellaneous stuff, do we have to do that in order, or can we just skip to the budget part? Or what do we gotta?
We do need to approve Madison Area Sports Commission's 2023 budget request before we approve the budget.
So can we skip to that and do that and then do our budget and then go backwards just in case?
Yes.
Okay,
So-
let's do it.
So if you're okay with skipping to number 2, we can vote on that real quick.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
This was the same as last year.
It's the same amount as
I'll
last
make,
year.
I'll make a motion to approve the $40,000 for grants for the Madison Area Sports Commission marketing efforts for Middleton.
In a second.
I'll second.
Oh, you got it?
All right. Does anybody have any discussion on that?
Yes.
Otherwise, all those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
All right.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I don't think. All right, motion carries. So, then moving on to the budget approval for 2023.
Okay. I'm going to quickly unshare her screen so I can bring one up.
I'm making such a push for the sports.
I'll be right back.
Oh, what did I just do?
You know, they
Your
brought
screen sharing is
real
on.
business, with real economic impact to our community. Yeah.
Yeah, so last year we approved 40,000, we only spent 25. And they brought curling and world hockey here, which were completely new pieces of business, in addition to like what they've also brought for us.
Absolutely.
So they are definitely, and part of the Destination Madison partnership fee goes to Madison Area Sports Commission. This $40,000 is strictly as a sports grant program to bring the extra business here. And so our partnership with Destination Madison pays for the portion of the sales team. And then this is the grant program to incentivize these sports events to come here.
Cool.
So, all right, so that passed. Did we vote? Yes.
Yeah. We did.
Sorry, gotta write that down. Okay, I'm going to quickly, now you guys have all seen top sheets.
Self-announcements.
All right, so I'm going to put my email open. So many things open. Let me open up my budget. And I'm going to show you guys my working file.
All right.
Because that way, if you have questions like, why are you spending X number of dollars and whatever, I can just point you right to it. Okay. This looks like. Oh, 1 second. I have too many things open, so I don't know what I'm looking at here. This is not the version that I turn into the city. I fill out a very professional looking one for the city. this is my working doc because pretty much since I became interim, I've been going through and trying to figure out like itemizing basically. So this is the top sheet that you all saw with what the request is per bucket line and the difference between 2023 and 2022. And just to go through it really quickly, for advertising, we're adding Iowa. And I can actually, I'll just show you. You guys are gonna see how the sausage gets made. This is kind of messy. Sorry. I forgot my mouse, so I'm like running amok.
poor thing.
So this is kind of just what marketing costs. So MailChimp subscription, this is based on our current cost. Hopefully it doesn't go up too much. It's actually based on how many people subscribe. And we have over 15,000 active subscribers. We aren't charged for the people who unsubscribe. Facebook maintenance, advertising. I added in social media budget lines for Good Neighbor Fest and National Mustard Museum because I only have about $400 a month for social media for organic posting. And those two events are so large, they were taking a huge amount of ad cost. So I actually just threw some budget money in this year. I also threw in some Stonehorse Green event budget money, kind of treating it the same as National Mustard Museum. And then we are keeping our digital and online from Milwaukee and Chicago exactly the same. And the green line there, we're adding a DMA for Iowa. I wanted to do this last year, but because of budget cuts, we had to take it out. And 50 grand, this would be spread across all digital. So that's social media and that's streamed media. So YouTube and stream television, like Hulu, things that you have a subscription to. And we don't do regular cable television anymore. It's very expensive and we weren't seeing quite the ROI. And with digital, you can get really great reporting out on that too. The yellow line is what we're estimating for cost for creating all of that, which is separate from actually placing the advertising. It's a little bit less than what I had budgeted for this year. We don't have to do as much because the branding is done. Print markets, I did increase that a little bit for two reasons. We have a lot of half-page ads for meetings. I'm going full page for some of these things. And also just the cost is going up in some cases. Also in green, the reason these are in green is if you ask me to cut the budget, these will be the first places I go because they don't affect our current operations. I'm not going to be changing drastically our current marketing, which we've only had 1 year of with our new company and our new brand. So I don't want to take anything away from that because it would be very difficult for us to track. But if you wanted us to cut, then I would cut Iowa again. And this map design project is something I'd really like to do, like the illustrated map we have in the back of the visitor guide, do something maybe for downtown or Pheasant Branch. And when we launch our brand new website next year, I'd like to do a launch video similar to what we did for the branding. Use it to gain a little free earned media out there because we're spending,
Can I ask you a
65,000.
question before you scroll too far about the Iowa. If you had to cut your budget, I don't know how marketing works, but if you don't put 50,000 in, it wouldn't be as effective. Like if you only put
So-
little sprinklings of it, or it's
Well, I mean, we can cut down,
okay.
but your reach is going to be,
This would be much more of an impact.
yeah, well, and 50,000 is very small. I mean, as you can see, Chicago is the most expensive and then Milwaukee. And this year we actually borrowed a little from Milwaukee to pay for Chicago because Chicago was the DMA, when you purchase it, the destination marketing area. For instance, when you're placing a Facebook ad or something and you're saying, I'm gonna put X number of dollars and this is the reach I want. And sometimes it takes more dollars to get that reach.
Okay.
Right. So the less money, the less reach is basically, and 50 is what I would consider the bare minimum
See, I
to
don't know
reach that whole
what
area.
I'll be quiet. See, I know we got.
Oh, no,
we're
these are
in a-
good
we're in a
questions. Other people have them.
time crunch.
Visitor guide, I've upped this quite a bit. I'm hoping not to spend that full amount, but printing is twice as much as it was last year. And so that's one of the reasons why this year we're still only going with 8,000 because it's costing, instead of like 7,000, it's 14,000 out of print. And this year, we're only updating the visitor guide and swapping out photos. Next year, I want to completely redesign it. I'd like to redesign it every 2 years, so that it doesn't get stale. And I'm hoping that it doesn't cost 40 grand, but with printing costs the way they are, I just thought we better plan. For a regular printing costs, we added in, we're doing a visitor guide postcard, like I'd explained before. We've added this meeting page, 1-page flyer, and that's something that Laura and I worked on for events. Here's 1 page of everything that's near you. So if you're having an event at Kiva, here are the hotels and attractions, and this is how you get places, and here are some maps and QR codes. And she customizes that for the meeting planners. And we print them either at FedEx or in-house. And then we also do some maps and things specifically for events that cater to an older demographic who they just don't enjoy using their phone. I don't blame them. So we've printed those, and we're able to print some of that stuff here, and we aren't charged as much, which helps a lot. And then we'd really like to do some fun postcards of Middleton and offer those to visitors when they come into the visitor center. So I've added in a budget line for that, something I've talked about since I got hired. So we'll see. We don't have to purchase note cards next year, so we can skip that. Sweepstakes, I brought us back down to our original budget because I really just didn't see the ROI this summer when I increased the ad budget. We had an amazing summer sweepstakes, and I pretty much saw the same results, even though I spent like $2 grand more. So I brought it back down. And then everything else pretty much very close to the same. And research, this is a big ticket item. I'm adding the destination strategic planning and implementation budget line. It would be a third-party 3-year strategic plan. And I'm adding implementation because if the plan doesn't cost 50 grand to do, but some of the things they're suggesting for us to take immediate action on does, this allows us to make some of those plans without having to have another meeting or have budget money approved for that. So if they come back and say, you absolutely need to add these things in your hotels, or you need to do that, there might be some budget money in there. But I was speaking with someone last week who is actually going through this herself at her destination, which is a very similar market to us. And she is just doing sports and outdoors, and it's going to cost her 31. And so she said, if you're doing your entire destination, she goes, I wouldn't budget for anything less than 40 or 45. And if you need any money to actually make anything happen in 2023, tack on another 5. And so this is one of those things where if you approve a smaller amount, then we will just find somebody who can fit within that amount. But I think our last strategic plan cost, I can't remember, 15 or 20, but they used our marketing agency. And we definitely feel that it's important that we use a third-party agency, someone who isn't going to be directly affected or benefit from any of the information coming out of it. So that's why that is such a big number. But again, if you guys think it's too big, I'll find somebody who can fit within the budget that you give me. I mean, you get what you pay for. That's all I'll say on that. On our last strategic plan, though, it does look like we accomplished pretty much everything on it. There was one thing on there about privatization that we obviously as a commission didn't explore further.
Was that like 3 years ago?
It was done before I was hired, and I've been here 3.
Oh,
So it was done 1 or 2 years before I was hired. I think Julie said it was complete a year or so in.
okay.
And actually rearranging how the office is part of it. Promotions, we only increased this by $1,000, and that is because we're going to add a few more amenities in here, probably you could call it, for meeting planners, but also everything right here we do, but have never budgeted for. So we're like, okay, do we take out promotions? Do we take out advertising? Do we take out supplies? And so I just put them on there. This is rough. I mean, honestly, we could spend way more than that on Halloween candy, but I draw the line. We will
Well, nice basket though for Battle of the Badges this year.
Thank
you
you.
saw it? Good.
Yeah, we got a lot of that donated.
Nicely
Thanks to Kevin.
Exactly. And next year we thought if we put it actually, and this is probably a little too high. I could probably even take that down. And if we don't,
can't see any
Yeah, you
amounts because.
oh,
we're-
sorry. Let me scooch it over.
There you go.
So, oh, come in. Oh, gee, Whizzers. I'm sorry. I'll just hold it.
Just shrink the first column, so it's a little bit
Oh,
shorter.
no, this is fine for now. So we could probably bring that down. It doesn't have to be that much. I was thinking in the sense of if we purchased everything and we didn't ask for donations. And Good Neighbor Festival, Mark Opitz was asking if we had anything to give away in their parade baskets. And I was like, we don't, we do not have enough. So anybody have any comments so far? I'm sorry, I'm going so fast. I'm just trying to get us through. Operations, this is where you're gonna see some huge changes. Not there, that's all the same. Building grounds and maintenance. We generally have budgeted, I think in the past it was, well, actually, if you go back further, it was closer to like 7,500. I don't know how we didn't go over. I'm guessing things were paid out of multiple buckets because when we went through and priced out, you know, rug mat rentals, pest control and all of these things and figure out how much it would cost per year, we got to this number. But we are adding a few things. One is we would like to add Wi-Fi into our conference room so we can have our commission meetings at our conference room. And IT priced it out at just below 3,000. So hopefully it's still 3,000.
Good investment.
And then this is a new thing. Public Works needs to do some maintenance on parking lots. And they're estimating it's gonna cost about $2,000 for us to prep the building. We have to add, oh, what's it called? We have to add treated boards along the side, the north side. And then they will add a curbing and fill it with rock. We don't have to pay for any of that, but the boards, and they're like this thick, they're like 3 inches thick to match the rest of the boards. He was thinking anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 because of the price of wood. And it's very possible we'll be able to have city employees actually install it to save us money. And then next year, they have to dry for a year. Next year, we'll have to paint it. But that's something that this is not official. It's in the works. And so if it goes through, it's going to start probably in April. They want to be done before school gets out because they want the library parking lot to be available when school gets out.
With those ugly yellow concrete posts. still be
Those
there?
will go away
Pylon, they're
because there will be a
going-
curb installed.
Well, wouldn't that be? Those things are-
Yeah, one of the first things he said is he'd be cutting those off. And then the rest of the stuff, we do all of this. We
Think that
just didn't have
courthouse
it
and
necessarily
get
in a
rid of the
budget.
posts.
But again, like there's $5,000 that wouldn't necessarily happen next year. We just have to paper paint next year. But the rest of this, I mean, again, we'll have to watch it. Maybe I'm really overshooting, but with everything we were budgeting out, I'm like, this is how much it costs. I did increase our grounds maintenance budget because right now with the amount of money that we were spending, we were getting pretty much mulching twice a year. And we need someone to help us maintain because we are out there weeding and it's getting ridiculous.
Can we come back to that, the curb? How far out from the building is that going to be?
Even with the
It's
overhang.
because there's not even a nice walk through there
No.
at all.
Mm-mm.
It'd be nice if it
Yeah.
could be a walk.
And again, that's all stuff that Public Works is gonna have to finalize next year. He was just kind enough to come by and say, by the way, if you need this in your budget.
Yeah.
Training hasn't, did I increase training? I think I increased training a little bit. And that, I added professional development opportunities for all 3 employees. So there's money in there. And again, if we don't spend it, we don't spend it. Training pays for memberships, registration fees, etc. And anything like that that goes with it. And travel would be like your hotel and your air flight or whatever. And some of these opportunities could be like $1,500 to go to like Esto, things like that. So I add, and Laura's is not, like she's already signed up for hers and it's quite a bit less for her registration. But I wanted to add some professional development opportunities for both marketing manager and myself. I haven't been able to do this the whole 3 years I've been here. And then this also includes all of our memberships, this bucket. And Laura actually went through and figured out what our membership fees are. Because again, next year I can go through and on this other column, I can write in exactly what we're spending and it'll be so much easier to make our next budget. Travel, I didn't increase this at all because I don't think we ever spend this much. So after this year, once we have kind of a normal year, I'll know whether or not we can actually decrease travel. But I mean, we've been in a pandemic the last 3 years, so we haven't come close to spending our travel budget. Mileage, I upped it by $100. And that's just in case one of us has to take our own vehicle because the company car is out. Mileage has increased, and so I just increased that. Insurance, finance said it can stay the same. And utilities, I added a 5% inflation because I was told that's probably safe. Software, this is a new budget line. So Laura has been hard at work trying to find software to help with permitting. This will not take permitting out of our office. That costs about 45 grand a year.
A year?
A year. 25 to 45 grand, depending on how much you want to actually do. So this is a $6,000 a year cost. And it's an add-on to a program that the city already has.
Okay, good.
And Laura believes it could really streamline the process. And if we can get everybody on board and we can see really good results, then maybe we can convince people to go, like the city, to actually take it over and or invest.
Upgrade to it.
Yeah,
Next
upgrade,
one.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
invest some
They're like,
more.
oh, you like this? Well, this program could do even more.
I have
for
no
us.
city commitment that the city would do this. I mean, as we all
Of
know,
course not.
they don't, like, money is an issue right now for everything. But when we were talking about this, I thought when Laura was like, and I think the price came in between 5 and 6. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. But when she asked about it, I'm like, well, we've spent 6 grand on dumber things.
Oh,
So
so that's our bar now?
I'm just-
Yeah.
when we're talking about trying something brand new, I feel like this could be something that could really help Laura, who's, I mean, especially in the summer, half of her time is on permitting. And we need to free her up.
Can people fill this out online?
Mhm.
Which would be great because you can't have to read half the
It's
stuff.
less paper pushing for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it will still require Laura to kind of.
I'm still gonna have to
oversee.
oversee it and make sure that it's following along, but it'll
It'll be a way better process than what we have right now, where people are handing us random sheets of paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, filled out.
and was this program one that could take payments online?
Mhm.
Yes, and that's gonna be huge.
Should also cut out City Hall.
And then for everything else down here, I did include increased legal fees. I feel like we have come very close to or gone over that budget line the last few years because we've had so many contracts.
Mhm.
And every time I ask a question, feed for it. And this is also the budget line where hiring comes out of. So when we're promoting a job. So I increased that. And I also increased gas by a lot. It was only $500 and we've pretty much already spent that this year. And we didn't even come back to the office till April. So I increased that by a lot. Hopefully we don't spend it, but we're going to be driving a lot next year. We're going to be going, Laura's going to be hitting the road.
All right.
And some of that cost will actually come out of the trade show. So we'll go into that.
Tickets on you.
Okay, so as you all know, the Tourism Development and Marketing Grant, we've changed this up. I've added $20,000 to this grant fund. We already have these two that we committed to, so they are permanent line items for 2023. But this gives us an opportunity to go, up to 5,000. The guidelines have pretty much like 3,000 is usually the amount. So this gives us a lot of leeway if we have a huge event coming to town and we want to be able to give more than $5,000 because they're
Yeah.
bringing 400 nights for a week, then we can make that decision too, because there'll be more leeway.
Right.
Trade show, we knocked it down. We decreased it by $33,000. We will still be able to participate in these events that Laura has earmarked, these events that Laura has earmarked as probably the best ROI for us. And then we've included $15,000 for partnerships. So if we have somebody out there who wants to partner with the commission and attend shows, we have a fair amount of money to be able to still partner with other people. And destination partnerships, we've kind of redefined this. We've cut it up into multiple buckets. It's events, it's sponsorships, and it's also a new meeting planner incentive. These are kind of placeholders depending on like what we've done in the past. Now, we actually didn't give anything to Mustard Day this year. I don't know, they haven't made a request in a long time. Capital Flight has requested for Rock the Ramp. But I just put cruise for the fundraiser for cancer in here as a possibility. And then I added some others in here. Oh, I added POCFest because and I actually increased it just in case, just so you know. but Women in the Arts, they are coming back. We have Downtown Car Show that might come back. They've been here several times. And then this gives us room for new business. And then this one I called new business or trolley because I have spoken to John and we're going to have a conversation on Friday about what the trolley sponsorship would look like and how much it might cost. It will be a lot more on weekends. And conferences are generally during the week, but events are on weekends. So if we have a weekend event that wants to use the trolley, the cost will either be quite a bit more, or we might not be able to use a trolley. We might get a shuttle bus. And so we're going to work out those details on Friday on how that might look. But it would say the guidelines say that the trolley is available for this, you know, it's based on availability. And then these are all of the meeting planner incentives that I called out during our June meeting, and just put some estimates for how much that would be and how many events. I was planning for up to 10 events for all three and up to 50 events for the trolley, because I feel like there are definitely going to be quite a few opportunities for people. And this will help with Jim as well. Like when you're trying to turn over business and you're using the trolley as a selling point, this will reincorporate that. And that 8,000, it covers 15 events, weekday cost up to 4 hours. So that's why I kind of put this over here like, well, if we need 5,000 extra, this is where we'll pull it, because it's all in the same grant number. We don't have to reallocate funds. We still aren't at necessarily pre-pandemic levels on all of our grants, but I feel like we're at a much more comfortable rate. This number is based on, so this is what we pay Destination Madison for our Madison Area Sports Commission partnership, our advertising partnership. It's like all of the local communities, regional partnership, but also because we are not a certified DMO, we have to pay into a certified DMO for status. And that comes out of this as well. And the contract that the commission signed, I think this January, was 17% of what our revenue is. So this is the anticipated revenue for next year. Of course, they're only paid 17% of what we make. So we aren't held at this number. They make as much in correlation to what we make. And so let me take you back to the overall budget. Does anybody have any questions, comments, things that they saw right away that, because again, my budget is due on Friday, so I can make changes to this in real time and then we can vote on it.
I think it looks good. You put a lot of thought and work into it.
And if you do have questions about forecasting, that was going to be part of the Q2 report. And I mean, we have 10 minutes. I can do this real quick. So I sat down with finance department and we talked about forecasting. Our upward trend right now in 2022 is kind of almost similar to 2019. 2018 was our banner year. 2019 was a little lower. But that to me is too optimistic. So I chose the 2017 numbers, and that was a revenue stream of 1.8 million with our overall, I call it take home pay. So this is after the city was like, let's see here. Oh, where did I have it? Our overall was $1,301,000 and change. And so I'm using that as my benchmark for 2023. And based on that, scroll down. So based on that, this is what our estimated revenue is after the 30% is taken out for the city. That's the 30%. So this is our take home pay. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. This is my budget request. I need to read my own lines. This is the estimated revenue. This is the city's 30%. This would be our take home. So that would leave us at a deficit of at least $62,000 next year. If you were to approve the $40,000 for e-bike and 25 for cross country, I wanted to be able to let you know that that's what our anticipated budget deficit would be for 2023.
Where'd you come up with 25?
If we get it over 10 years, which I figured would be the only thing we could possibly afford to do. And just so you know, this is what I am anticipating. So right now, this is where we're at. This was our budget for 22. This is what we forecast. So we knew going in that we would have a possible deficit of over 150. Our total revenue through Q2 is 566,902. We also have grants. So right now we're sitting at 958,708. Here are our expenses, which aren't entirely up to date. Casella's almost a month behind, honestly.
Okay.
And net revenue over expenses. So we're sitting okay right now. But that's because we have a lot of expenses coming up in Q3 and Q4. Like we haven't even started the website, right? So that's like 50 grand. And the depot painting can come out of contingency funds. So that, just so you know, that's kind of where we're sitting right now. I'm anticipating, let's see here. I'm anticipating a shortfall of 116,000 this year. I could be off. Maybe we won't spend everything, but that's
That salary surplus, that's kind of deceiving too, because you may not be paying it out in salaries, but you're paying it out for consulting fees and stuff too, you know.
well, and I think we'll have enough in our building budget projects line to make up for that painting as well.
Okay.
And also for salaries, these are based, this is finance submits all of these numbers, not me.
Okay,
And this is based on hiring someone at the same salary range that I was at, and please don't expect that. We're going to have to pay them more. And their health insurance is, I adjusted it for a family health plan. So there's potential that that line goes down if they don't need a family health plan, but I made sure to
You have
bump it
to-
up
yeah, you
in
have to-
case. But everything else should have been the same. And so
you gotta get
there's,
the max benefit. in
yeah,
there.
there's a potential that the salary might go up a little. Just because, I mean, we're advertising it at a higher range, so. And finance will update all of that. I don't update any of that. So does anybody have any other questions? Anything that you thought maybe I made too fat or too lean? I'm happy to make any of those corrections and then we can vote on this budget. This has to be approved through finance as well. And so part of that will be, I gave you that quick and dirty decision-making item where it kind of, it defends why we're increasing or decreasing a budget line. And I was very, very detailed for you guys. I won't be that detailed for finance. They don't need to read like 3 pages, but
Well, there's also the, you know, after it's submitted, changes are made all the time. so.
they are. But if you guys voting on this, what happens though is it gives me legs to stand on to argue with the finance committee when they're trying to make adjustments to our budget.
Okay.
And so,
I'm gonna have.
yeah, we need to vote though, because
Yeah.
Kathy needs to step
I,
up.
I mean, I actually think you had a quorum without me, but I, you know.
I was just gonna say, like, I don't really think there's anything on here that I would change. It's a fresh perspective, obviously with Mari being new to the role. So, I mean, I guess me personally, I mean, I'd be open to a motion if anybody has one, or if anyone has any further questions. I know we need to kind of get rolling here.
Make a motion to approve.
In a second,
I'll second.
perfect. Before we go, is there any discussion items, any questions?
Yes, I think Mari likes numbers a lot.
That's a comment.
I can vouch for her. She's been living and breathing this budget the last couple months.
Yeah, so
Well,
it-
weeks really,
yeah.
but yeah.
But data
hold on.
is, okay, so yes, sorry, vote.
I would just say all those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Did anybody or does anybody oppose?
Nope.
Doesn't
have to-
sound like it. All right,
Thank
motion
you
carries.
so much.
She's Kathy for.
Like, I think,
Okay, well, we still have quorum, so if you guys want
Yeah,
to, we
you
can
can
still
go on, yep.
accept the tourism guidelines. So
So
the
since you're
motion,
recording, I can catch this later.
Yes.
thank you so much, Kathy. Okay, so the motion passes. This is the budget I'll submit. And I submit it on Friday and then it goes through a whole bunch of people. So I'll let you guys know how this goes. I know in years past, things have been changed, but I'm really going to fight for it. I don't want to give up Iowa markets again, guys. It's a really good market for us, northeast Iowa. It's a really good market for us. Okay, so next up,
Well, okay, so I got a question. The second quarter budget report, can we punt that to the next meeting or do you have to do that?
we can totally do it for the next meeting if you want to. I kind of already gave you half of it.
That's kind of what I thought. I guess, I don't know. I'll leave it up.
I can report out in September. This isn't a voting thing anyway. I can support out in September and I can also give you updated numbers. By then I'll actually have the true revenue spend for Q2. Right now, I'm still waiting for a whole bunch of bills to go through.
Okay.
I've been checking Casell every day. So next up, tourism, the grant criteria and guidelines. Are we ready to vote and approve these? What do you guys think? I was checking minutes, guys. We first started talking about this in April.
I was just gonna say, I would hope so.
I made a lot of changes. I used Julie's first round as my base. And I changed some things from there, and destination partnerships is quite a bit different. I did switch some of the criteria. I worked with Laura on some of that, on what we thought minimum should be for people coming to stay. What was one of the other things? Oh, for submissions, Julie did have something in there like, we're only going to review grants 4 times a year. We meet monthly, and until that changes, I feel like we should continue to look at grants as they come.
Yep.
So that nobody misses an opportunity.
yeah, no, I agree. That's always been one of my frustrations on the hotel side of things, is that there was always a question about whether the contract was signed yet before they, we move at the speed of corporations. So I'm trying to get them to put pen to paper immediately. I can't tell them to hold off on signing that until the Middleton Tourism Commission looks at your application 60 days later and rules on it. So it's like, yeah, I like it every month, please. My people,
Spreads it out too.
yeah, you're not doing 8 of them.
I don't know why we ever went to that, but I think this is good.
Well, and also, I mean, right now we're in the business generating part of this. If we were ever to the point where we were reviewing 10 applications a month,
Yeah.
I would absolutely say we need to have one big application meeting a quarter, but that is not the case. I mean, right now we're lucky if we see one application.
Like a big group wedding tasting, but grant application review.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
There should always be food involved in something
Yeah.
like that. So, any discussion? Anybody have anything they want me to tweak or add? We can still vote on it pending, an edit.
Otherwise, yeah, I was just gonna say, I'll entertain a motion if anybody has one.
Make a motion to approve
As is,
as is.
right? Second?
Kevin seconded. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any discussion or questions? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Nope.
Doesn't sound like it. Motion carries.
Sorry to hear you're going, Corey. But, I know it's gotta be brutal over there. It's, it's brutal in hotels right now. It's probably no different, even worse for you. So I get it, man.
Yeah, no, it was not ideal for me. I
Yeah.
was hoping I could squeeze out this term, but
Yeah.
it's rough right now. No way around it.
Yep. Well, got family, got work, and work is taking up a ton of time. So
Yeah. It's been fun though. I will tell you that. It's been a long time.
yeah, 10 years is that's huge.
Yeah.
Well, does someone want to adjourn this meeting?
Well, we do have to talk about items for the next one first.
Oh, good. Good
So
thing you're
then-
here, Cory.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what are we
do
gonna do without
All
you?
we've all left and. oh, what are we
And it
doing?
makes me kind of think you guys are going to the bar to celebrate without me.
No, I was going to say though, keep in touch. Let's meet up down at Capitol and have some beers with Kevin one of these nights.
Yeah, and then hopefully I can get this COVID out of my household. Without.
Yeah, that would be.
I'm
that
not
would
really
be a
worried
good
about
first-
getting it, but I just had it 3 months ago, but I just rather be safe than sorry.
Yeah, no, that's the way to be.
Okay, so this is what I have. Cross-country outdoor center application grant request. Good thing I brought 2 pens, grant request. Q2 revenue report, tourism economic report if it comes in. By the time it comes in, it's almost 2 years late.
Right.
Budget update on the process, if there is anything to report out. Marketing manager position update. Hopefully there's definitely something to report out. And I do think we will have one grant request. I believe that Wisconsin Volunteer Group is going to submit one.
Yeah,
I need to actually get back to him on that.
okay.
Mara, you gotta just let me know too if the mayor doesn't have a replacement for next month.
Yes, I'm hoping to get that wrapped up in a week or so.
Okay, just let me know.
I gave him
Zero.
well, he's actually already received the application. So right now, we're just waiting for him to review and decide whether or not he interviews the applicant
Okay,
and moves forward. So I will let you know.
sounds good.
And trust me, I'll be reaching out to all of you if he denies the application, because it's very hard to find people in the tourism industry who
Have time.
have time to be on a commission, as you know. And so I might have to ask for some ideas. So, okay, so Q2 revenue report, tourism economic report, budget update, marketing manager update, cross-country ski grant request. So start thinking and asking questions. And again, if you submit those questions to me, I'll try to reply to the whole group. And then also possibly another grant request on here. I don't think we have any more business in September other than this.
That sounds like a lot to me.
For the last 2 meetings, though, it's pretty light, which is
It's like, oh,
sad.
great. So that one's gonna be 2 hours, not 2.5.
Okay,
So
thank
then
you
if
guys so much for hanging in there.
we just need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second.
All right. Looks like we're good to go. It was a marathon. See you guys later.
Take care, guys.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.